His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, the chairperson of the African Union Commission. The summit brings together over 4,000 stakeholders to evaluate the state of Africa's fertilizers use and soil health. In 3 days, in 3 days of dialogue and deal making from 7 to 9 May 2024, beginning with the agriculture ministers and expert section today and tomorrow. It will be the joint ministerial conference, which will be ministers of agriculture and ministers of foreign affairs. This will culminate in a high-level presidential summit on day 3. Our expectation from the event are the following 4 priorities. The first one is the Nairobi Declaration. The second is the 10-year Fertilizer Action Plan. The third is a soil initiative for Africa framework. And the last is the mechanism to finance the action plan. We cannot be here, leaving our capitals, and we cannot implement. We need to implement because fertilizer is core for food security on the continent. Proudly, Kenya becomes the second African Union member state to host this prestigious gathering since 2006, when we passed the Abuja Declaration. This year's summit is set to evaluate the state of Africa's soil health while reviewing the progress made since 2006 during the Abuja Declaration, which aims to boost fertilizer use of agricultural growth. Despite multiple efforts, Africa falls short of the Abuja Declaration targets. Fertilizer consumption in Africa has only risen from 8 kg per hectare to below 25 kg per hectare since 2006, far below from the 50 kg per hectare. That is why we are here today, to really reshape our 10 years action plan with very much a bold ambition. Statistics from the World Bank, the World Development Indicators for 2025 indicates the following. The data is presented for 53 countries in Africa. Fertilizer consumption kilometer per hectare of arable land range in Africa from 0.03 in Sudan and 1.04 kg per hectare in Somalia to 542.47 in Seychelles and 542.57 in the Arab Republic of Egypt, the highest figure recorded by the African countries. 10 countries meet or surpass the 2006 Abuja Declaration. These are Morocco, 55.29 kg per hectare, Eswatini, 57.77 kg per hectare, Botswana, 59.27 kg per hectare, Kenya, 60.66 kg per hectare, Zambia, 63.90 kg per hectare, Malawi, 96.74 kg per hectare, South Africa, 104.64 kg per hectare, Mauritius, 186.50 kg per hectare, Seychelles, 542.49 kg per hectare, the Arab Republic of Egypt, 542.57 kg per hectare. Those are the 10 member states that really performing. Some even exceeded the 50 kg per hectare. Congratulations for your effort to really achieve the food secured in Africa. Unfortunately, 22 African countries recorded fertilizer consumption of less than 10 kg per hectare. Comparably, if we have to compare the statistics of over all the parts of the world that have attained food sufficiency, which are China is using 274.8 kg per hectare, Germany 130 kg per hectare, Canada 126.1 kg per hectare, Indonesia 0.2 kg per hectare, Israel 265.5 kg per hectare, Malaysia 2,143.6 kg per hectare, Ireland is using 1,637.1 kg per hectare. This is just the statistics to show you that we need to work hard to feed Africa. Despite producing around 30 million metric tons of mineral fertilizer annually, many African countries still heavily rely on imports, particularly non-phosphate-based fertilizers, leaving them vulnerable to market shocks. We saw what is happening in the two recent shocks, COVID-19 pandemic, and the crisis between Russia and Ukraine, where we depend about 30% to provide fertilizer, 30% of those markets to provide fertilizer to our farmers in Africa. We all remember that we all remember what transpires with the ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis due to the reliance of several African countries on grain and fertilizer from these two countries, and the need to build food sovereignty in Africa by raising the productivity with a view of feeding 2.4 million people by 2050. We are taking up these issues in the post-Malabo process, which will unveil the 10 years plan for agricultural transformation and the CADEP ambitions. The theme of this event is Listen to the Land, look to explore the current condition of Africa's soil with the mindset that multiple solutions, including fertilizer, exist and must be implemented rapidly to avert the worsening food and nutrition security on the continent, in our continent, Africa. Once again, I welcome all of you to this event, and I thank you for taking your time to come to Nairobi. So, asante sana, muito obrigado pelos participantes que aqui estão. Muitas gracias. Merci beaucoup. Shukran. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of work to be done. It's my takeaway from that first presentation. I would like to encourage all the speakers to follow, to use the microphones to my left. And maybe we might up our sound quality, who knows? Would you be so kind? Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries of the Republic of Uganda, and Chair of the AU Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment. I can help you up too. I love everybody.
Thank you.
Right, here we go.
The Right Honorable Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, the Republic of Kenya, Her Excellency Ambassador Joseph Asako, Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy, and Sustainable Environment of African Union, Honorable Mithika Linturi, Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Republic of Kenya, colleague honorable ministers present, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I bring you greetings from Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, and I bring you greetings from my president, His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Allow me to thank the African Union for organizing this Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, and the government of Kenya for graciously accepting to host the summit here in the beautiful capital of Nairobi. In particular, I would like to thank my sister, Her Excellency Ambassador Joseph Asako, for your leadership and tireless efforts to make sure that this summit finally takes place. Congratulations. As you are aware, the summit was postponed twice last year, and as chair of the AU Specialized Technical Committee of Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment, I am happy that the summit is taking place during my tenure. We are gathered here today and for the next 2 days because we share common concerns regarding the future of our agriculture and of our food security. We all recognize that agriculture remains central to Africa's growth and poverty reduction. In Uganda, it employs nearly 70% of the population and contributes approximately 24% of the gross domestic product, generating 40% of the country's exports and 60% of raw materials for our industries. I guess it could be close to the same picture in our respective countries. But we cannot speak agriculture without talking about soil health and fertilizers. And that's why we're here, I guess. The theme of this summit is "Listen to the soil," in quotes. We are being requested to pay attention to our soils, to understand them and what they need, to manage them better for both current and future generations. For degraded soils, it means rehabilitating them and making them more productive. It is my expectation that during this summit, we shall hear about good practices and technologies that can help our farmers to manage their soils better. It means taking actions that rejuvenate our soils, especially practices that will increase organic matter content in our soils. It also means educating and encouraging our farmers to uptake tested and proven soil management practices applicable to local contexts. The Food and Agriculture Organization, our partner, reports that about 33% of the Earth's soils are already degraded, and over 90% could become so by the year 2050. Not quite exciting impression. It further notes that approximately 820 million and 2 billion people are food and nutrition insecure, respectively, largely arising from diminished soil production and productivity. You're also aware, Excellencies, that crop yields in Africa are only 1/3 of the global yield average. Part of the solution to raise crop yields is to increase fertilizer application on the continent, currently averaging about 18 kilograms per hectare, less than 50% of the target of 50 kilograms per hectare that was set in 2006 in Abuja, Nigeria, during the first fertilizer summit. Moreover, these averages masks deeper disparities within individual countries. For instance, in Uganda, our average stands at only 2 kilograms per hectare. Again, during this summit, I hope to hear about what can be done to increase the fertilizer consumption on the continent, not for the sake of it, but to increase agricultural productivity, because Africa needs it if we are to feed our people and reduce vulnerability to the shocks to our food systems. I want to hear what we need to do to make fertilizers both organic and inorganic, more affordable and accessible to our farmers. We need to overcome the challenges that are limiting fertilizer uptake and which are common among our countries. This could include cost of the fertilizer, especially on account of importation from far-off sources, resulting in too high transport costs that translate into high fertilizer prices. The perception that our soils are inherently with high fertility without appreciating nutrient depletion through harvested crop biomass. While this fertility perception may have been true in the past, the constant cultivation over the years without nutrient replenishment has left our soils highly degraded. Low investments in local fertilizer production to exploit the abundantly available raw materials. Uganda, for instance, has abundant phosphate deposits, and with the emerging oil sector, nitrogen too will be available. Low capacity and knowledge by smallholder farmers on how to replenish the lost soil nutrients, hence the need for deliberate efforts to educate farmers on use of organic, inorganic, and biofertilizers to sustain, rehabilitate, and enhance soil fertility. It is also critical that we provide appropriate knowledge by conducting in-country soil testing, soil mapping, profiling, zoning, and fertilizer performance trials to guide recommendations regularly for integrated nutrient management. Fertilizer importation is capital intensive, Right Honorable and colleagues. And to break even, you need to import large volumes. This calls for access to affordable finances to facilitate the trade. The implication of this is that very few private sector players venture into it, leading to low volumes on the market, and thus the high prices. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, addressing these and more challenges to ensuring rehabilitation and enhancement of soil health will be critical for the future of agriculture, our food systems, animal feed, nutrition, and income security among our people. I am glad that during the AU Summit in February this year, the Executive Council endorsed both the 10-year Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan and the Soil Initiative for Africa Policy Framework. During this summit, we shall present the draft Nairobi Declaration for consideration and adoption by AU heads of state and government. The declaration gives political guidance and direction. It will be very important that AU member states commit to the implementation of the 10-year Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan. In the subsequent session, I will present to you, Excellencies and Honorable Ministers of Agriculture, the draft Nairobi Declaration for your review and inputs. The draft declaration was presented to the STC in November last year and considered by the Executive Council that recommended it to the AU Summit. However, before taking it to the summit, we thought we should provide you with the opportunity to review it again in case there are important aspects that you would want to be included. I want to thank once again the African Commission, Ambassador Sako and your team for the support you are giving me as the chair of STC. I wish you fruitful deliberations. I thank you. Asante sana. Merci. The rest I can't add on. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Waziri, uko tayari? Uko tayari? Ladies and gentlemen, may I call to the podium Honorable Mithika Linturi, Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, Republic of Kenya.
Thank you very much. Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary, Republic of Kenya, Ambassador Sako, distinguished guests here present, my colleague ministers from different countries, let me take this opportunity as the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development in Kenya to warmly welcome you all in Nairobi, and most importantly, at this very important and timely African Fertilizer Soil Health Summit. The soil health conversation is unique in all countries world over, given that we all have to feed our people. I'm glad that our experts in Kenya have participated in the development of the Soil Health Initiative and the 10-year action plan under different platforms, and appreciate the leadership of the AUDA, NEPAD, and the African Union. Soil fertility depletion has been cited as the fundamental root cause of declining per capita production arising from continuous mining of soil nutrients, inappropriate farming practices, including use of blanket fertilizer recommendations. Some of the negative effects of land degradation include the decline in crop productivity, food insecurity, low return on agricultural investment, and environmental degradation. In Kenya, only 18% of our land area is arable for crop production. And moreover, the area under serious production alone measures some 2.7 million hectares, or 47% of the total arable land. This puts pressure on the soils in these agricultural areas to produce enough food for both local consumption and export, and calls for action not only to utilize these areas, but also do it in a sustainable manner. Traditional approaches to soil fertility, replenishment, and low external input due to low availability and high cost of inputs by smallholders have led to land degradation. The current soil fertility replenishment strategy is based on the integrated soil fertility management practices, which advocate for the use of both organic and inorganic fertilizers for balanced nutrient fertilization. This arises from the fact that fertilizers are expensive and calls for precise and prescriptive fertilizer recommendations at the farm level, which are based on precise soil testing to ensure increased sustainable and profitable crop production. I'm happy to note that the agricultural soil management policy of 2023 will guide institutionalizing sustainable management of agricultural soils in Kenya. The benefits of improved soil health transcend economic and environmental gains for our beloved country and region. The sub-themes identified in this summit are all important and relevant to Kenya, which includes advances in monitoring soil health, land degradation, and agronomic performance, and multi-stakeholder action for scaling soil health globally through evidence-based public and private investment. Soil information systems in Africa, process of developing and implementing country plans and partnership modalities for implementation of the African Fertilizer Soil Health Action Plan. Importance and benefits of integrated landscape, soil and water management to optimize fertilizer use and soil health across agricultural land uses. The organic matter component of the high SFM equation challenges and realistic opportunities. Policy framework around fertilizer and soil health incentive schemes to build soil health and financing Africa's fertilizer value chains. I am happy to note that my ministry has an exhibition tent where all these sub-themes are displayed in terms of state-of-the-art technologies and relevant artifacts and products, and invite you all to attend the stand. I want to thank you, and now it's my pleasure, and with a lot of humility, invite our Prime Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, to officially make his remarks and open this important summit. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Honorable Linturi. Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries of the Republic of Uganda, and the Chair of the African Union Specialized Technical Committee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Water and Environment. The Honorable Mithika Linturi, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock Development of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, Ambassador Joseph Asako, AU Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment at the African Union Commission, Honorable Ministers of Agriculture present today, Commissioners of the African Union Commission, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and Karibu Kenya. It gives me a great pleasure to join you here today as we congregate to dialogue on matters of African fertilizer and soil health. This summit comes at a particularly challenging time when millions of Africans across the continent are facing severe food and nutrition insecurity. It provides an opportunity for us to reflect on long-term and sustainable strategies of how to feed the growing African population. We appreciate the heads of state and government from the African Union who have provided the policy framework and guidance on the key focus of this summit. In particular, the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program, CADAP, has served as the framework for action for agricultural transformation across Africa since 2003. The CADAP, an AU initiative, supports member states in increasing investment and productivity in the agricultural sector. In this regard, allow me to highlight some of the key declarations and commitments by our heads of state and government to drive agricultural productivity, to improve food and nutrition security. Indeed, some of these have already been flagged by Ambassador Sako, but it does not harm to repeat some of them. First, there's the Maputo Declaration. At the Second Ordinary Assembly of the African Union in July 2003 in Maputo, African heads of state and government endorsed the Maputo Declaration on Agriculture and Food Security in Africa. The declaration contained several important decisions, but prominent among them was the commitment to the allocation of at least 10% of national budgetary resources to agriculture and rural development policy implementation within 5 years. The second is the Abuja Declaration in 2006. The Declaration on Fertilizer for the African Green Revolution identified the critical need to increase fertilizer use to stimulate agricultural productivity, growth, to end hunger and poverty in Africa. Then there's the Malabo Declaration in June 2014. African leaders declared their commitment to end hunger in Africa by 2025. That is next year. The Declaration on Accelerated Agricultural Growth and Transformation for Shared Prosperity and Improved Livelihoods focused on accelerating agricultural growth by at least doubling current agricultural production levels by the year 2025. Then there's the Soil Initiative for Africa in September 2020. At the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa Forum, the African Union Commission issued a call for an ambitious, long-term effort to systematically improve the health and productivity of Africa's soils. Improved soil condition will be achieved by scaling proven and locally adapted technologies, including balanced and efficient inorganic and organic fertilizer applications to improve productivity for all farmers and, in many cases, sequester greenhouse gases. The forum emphasized policies, programs, and institutional structures for an effective soil management system to improve and maintain soil fertility across Africa into the future. I believe monitoring the implementation of these commitments and initiatives is ongoing. During this summit, there's need to review our performance and, through lessons learned, propose innovative solutions to address emerging challenges. It is important to recognize that we cannot achieve our aspiration of eliminating hunger and poverty if we do not take a sustainable approach to soil health, prudent use of agricultural inputs, environmental conservation, and embracing of technologies that can make our production systems efficient and effective. The realization of this important goal will ensure that as we feed ourselves, we also leave an environment where our generations can be able to sustain themselves. Though fertilizers are estimated to contribute more than 30% of the crop yield, we have witnessed in our country that fertilizer alone cannot sustain increased agricultural productivity and production. For example, observations have been made that maize yields have stagnated despite increased fertilizer use. This has resulted in input bundling, emphasis on balanced nutrition, and soil sampling and testing. In recognition of the need for integrated soil management, the government, in collaboration with other stakeholders, has developed the National Soil Management Policy. This policy contains critical directions on sustainable agricultural soil and water management, soil management and environment, technology development, dissemination and utilization, fertilizer development and investments. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to take time and attend the Kenya government side event to appreciate the progress made in this area and witness the launching of the National Soil Management Policy. It is important to note that depending on how governance structures are designed, issues to do with fertilizer and soil health cut across different jurisdictions. This means we need to develop coordination mechanisms where all the stakeholders sit at the same table and develop action plans that address issues of fertilizer and soil holistically. I am also aware that it has been difficult for majority of the African governments to allocate budgets to agriculture and rural development at the levels anticipated in the Maputo Declaration. This has been compounded by the competing resource allocation needs and the impact of the recent COVID-19 that affected the economic performance of most of the African countries and the world at large. As the economies recover, I urge this summit to come up with financing proposals that are practical and achievable. This will be the only way to reach the targets set within the action plans. Let me conclude by wishing you fruitful discussions and a conclusive outcome that will define the use of fertilizer and soil health in Africa. Enjoy a comfortable stay in Nairobi, and don't forget to sample our heritage and tourist attractions across the country. Even though we have had excessive rain, you will still enjoy. Let me conclude by saying that for Africa, together we can do it. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Waziri, may I give you an instruction for the first time in your life? Please stay here. And would all the speakers for that session be so kind as to record this moment in photographic history? Madame, si vous voulez bien, on va se prendre en photo. So, a couple of permutations. Sir, if you would. A couple of permutations so that our friends in the media are happy. The first one I suggest is that Madame is going to place herself in on this side.
On this side?
On this side, right. No, don't worry. And we'll do that one. We'll place ourselves centrally. Should we move across? Why not? Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Have a go on that one. Right. Please, Madame, si vous voulez bien, would you come now to the end? Just hold on. Yeah. Yes. No, and then, Minister, if you'd be so kind. Let's try that one. Let's try that one for size. What have we done now? I think that's it. I just want, please, the two of you, and if you'd be so kind as to sit down. Just the two of you. Just the two of you. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have to adjust our program and work on the assumption that we're running half an hour late. We're going to have a half an hour break for mid-morning tea, and my notes say that mid-morning tea will be in spaces within the conference center, which basically means nothing. But it does mean, that you can ask somebody here who seems to know the center, wapi chai? That'll work. Wapi chai. And then we'll come back for a session in half an hour, and then thereafter